Today, we're going to talk about something that might feel, well, super familiar, even if you've never had a name for it. We're diving into this idea called parentification and what it really means to grow up just a little too fast.
Okay, let's just jump right in with this question. Does this hit home for you? That feeling that you are always the responsible one, the grown-up in the room, even when you were just a kid? If you're nodding along right now, you are definitely in the right place. You might just recognize yourself in what's coming up next. Were you the one who was always stepping in between your parents during their argument Olympics, trying to broker some kind of peace treaty, when all you really wanted to do was go back to watching cartoons? Or maybe this was you, the family's crisis PR manager, always cleaning up your siblings' messes, making the right excuses, basically handling all the drama so your parents wouldn't have to. You were mastering damage control while other kids were still figuring out their multiplication tables.
And, oh man, then there's this one. Being the family's emotional hotline. Your phone was always on, ready to listen to a parent's worries or a relative's problems. It just leaves you feeling completely drained, right? Like a power bank that everyone uses but no one ever bothers to plug back in.
So, if any of that sounded even a little bit familiar, you should know there's actually a name for it. It's not just being mature for your age or being a good kid. It's a real psychological concept, and it's called parentification.
At its heart, parentification is a complete role reversal. Think about it like this. You were supposed to be in the audience of your own childhood, just watching the show. But instead, you got pushed onto the stage, handed the lead role, and nobody even gave you a script. That is an incredibly heavy burden for any kid to carry.
And this whole thing usually shows up in two main flavors. First, you've got instrumental parentification. We call this the little housekeeper. This is when you're taking on really practical adult jobs, paying bills, cooking for the family, intense caregiving. You're chasing receipts while other kids are out chasing butterflies. And then there's emotional parentification, being the personal shrink. This is where you absorb all your parents' anxieties and become their main confidant. You basically become an emotional vacuum cleaner with absolutely no one around to empty your bag.
So you might be wondering, how does this even happen? It's so important to get this. It is rarely a conscious, deliberate choice by parents. It's almost always more of an unconscious pattern, kind of a collective, whoops, that just bubbles up from a very specific set of circumstances.
The source material really points to these four main causes. First up, a big family crisis, a divorce, an illness, can turn the home into a leaky ship, and suddenly the kid is the one handed the wheel. Second, parents might be unconsciously replaying their own childhoods, basically casting their own kid in the sequel to a movie they never wanted to be in. Third, cultural pressures can sometimes praise this intense sense of responsibility, turning a child into the house mascot for maturity. And finally, some kids are just born with this high empathy superpower, but it can backfire, turning them into mood vacuums that just absorb everyone's stress to keep things calm.
Okay, I know. This is all sounding pretty heavy, right? But here's where the story takes a really interesting turn. Because while this experience is, without a doubt, incredibly difficult, it can actually forge some amazing and maybe even surprising strengths. This isn't about justifying what happened, but it is about recognizing the unexpected side effects.
The amazing family systems theorist Salvador Minuchin put it perfectly. He said this kind of experience acts as a life accelerator. That constant need to read the room, to anticipate what people need before they even ask. It can develop this almost mind-reading level of empathy, a really deep understanding of how people tick.
And hey, this isn't just some vague idea. There's actually data to think about. Some studies suggest that all that early responsibility can give people a 25% edge in adaptability later in life. Just think about that for a second. The very thing that felt like such a heavy weight can become a kind of muscle memory, making you more resilient, more capable of handling whatever life decides to throw at you.
But maybe the biggest silver lining of all is this right here. The moment you recognize parentification in your own life, it's like the ultimate wake-up alarm goes off. It is the first and most crucial step toward realizing you don't have to play that role anymore. You can actually start putting your own needs first.
Okay, so if you're listening and thinking, yep, that's my story, the next big question is, what now? How do you even begin to untangle yourself from that old role? How do you find the kid you might have had to leave behind? Well, let's look at a really practical way forward.
The source material lays out a really clear four-step process. And listen, this isn't about some huge, dramatic family confrontation. It's about making small, consistent, smart moves that help you rewrite your own script. So let's break them down.
All right, step one, you've got to become a diary sleuth.
Just take a few minutes each day to notice and jot down when you slip into that parent mode. This simple act of awareness is so powerful. The source mentions one person who did this and was just shocked to realize she was playing the parent 80% of the time. You can't change a pattern until you can really truly see it.
Step 2 is all about practicing boundaries. But it doesn't have to be some big scary no. The source calls it a mosquito bite no. It's small, but it's effective. The key is using I statements. So it's not, you're asking for too much. It's, I need some time to recharge tonight. See the difference? It frames it around your needs, not their demands.
Okay, step 3 might be my favorite. This is about actively recharging your childhood battery. The idea is to actually schedule a frolic day that's just for you. Do something purely for the fun of it, something the kid version of you would have absolutely loved. Go build a sandcastle, buy that ridiculous candy you are never allowed to have, watch old cartoons. It's all about giving yourself permission to just play.
And finally, and this is so crucial, step 4, don't go solo. You do not have to do this alone. Build your alliance. That could be a therapist, a supportive partner, or just a really good friend who gets it. Having someone in your corner gives you a sounding board and the backup you need to stay on track.
So, what's the big takeaway here? At the end of the day, understanding parentification isn't about pointing fingers or placing blame. It's about recognizing the role you were cast in and then realizing that you, right now, have the power to step out of it. It's time to move from being a supporting actor to being the lead in your own life.
I love this analogy. It's like you were put into adult cosplay so early on that you just forgot you were even wearing a costume. Recognizing what happened is that moment you finally look in the mirror and realize you can take it all off. You can wipe away the makeup and just be you.
The big takeaway is that your script can be rewritten. Your past doesn't have to dictate your future. You are the writer, the director, and the star of your life now. So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. If you could rewrite your script starting today, what would be your very first new line?